Boom!
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will take a look at the collector's edition of Geo-Force. Now, this figure right now is pretty hot out there in the action figure collecting community. I did pick this one up at Target, finding two of the standard versions and one of the platinum version. Now, today we'll only take a look at the standard version, have a little bit of fun, add my own little touches, and some pretty interesting little details that I added to this figure. Now, of course, the Platinum Edition is the same exact figure, just in a different color scheme, but I just don't feel like necessarily at this point I need to open it up. And honestly, this figure really surprised me, so let's take a look at this guy. Really exceeding my expectations. He does look pretty empowered in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have a image from the source material from the comics on that more premium stock and design of the collector's edition. Now, on the back, you do have a good amount of information, and this is pretty important because don't know anything about this character, never heard of him. In all my history of being into DC Comics, I went through all of the years of Batman. Some of my favorite DCs were Mr. Miracle, a lot of obscure stuff like Justice League International and Europe. So, very surprised that I have never come across this exact character. Now, there is something I want to say, and that is that I usually look up the character, look up stuff from the comics for reference and things like that. But I have to be honest with you, this figure needs none of that. Even if you don't know who he is, even if you have no idea of the history of this Geo-Force character, this has to be pretty much one of the best releases from McFarlane, especially in design and execution. Now, it's still not a 10 out of 10, but it's definitely a 9 out of 10 easily. Now, we will take a look at all the positives that I saw and also look at the negatives that I didn't like, but those are very minimal. Pretty cool. Now, we'll hold on to this. Now, this is a character associated with the Outsiders, so that is another team that we could eventually build for the expanded DC multiverse. Pretty cool. Now, he does come with a little bit of accessories. First up, he does have the face plates. Now, I did swap these out because in the package he does come with the whited out eyes faceplate, but I wanted to review him more in a standard form. So you do have a pretty nice original static faceplate, which is pretty cool if you just want him in a muted form. You also have this pretty creepy looking grinning face, which not one of my favorites, but I do have something special that we'll take a look at later on in the video, which I did with this one. And you have my favorite whited out eyes version of this character, that creepy feeling, that otherworldly, non human feeling that I just really enjoy. So I thought it was pretty cool that they added this. So, although I do not know the origin of this look, it is one of my favorite faceplates that they gave us for this character. Now, the other thing you get is two blast effects. These are pretty nice. We've never seen these before, so this is a new mold, but it does a good job of giving off a blast effect that you could use with this character. They are in an orange translucent plastic, and they do have the opening so that you could stick the hands inside. Those are pretty awesome accessories, so we'll hold on to those. Now let's go ahead and take a more detailed look at this figure. Now I want to say first impressions, right off the bat, this is a very well designed and executed figure. If you don't know anything about this character, he does jump off the shelf in the toy aisle, very striking to the eye. The look is just something really caught me off guard. And although it is a simple suit design, there's nothing, out of this world. I think they did a really good job with the colors. And although this is a body we've seen before, we've seen it with the recent fusion figure of Batman and Superman. We've seen it with Black Lightning. I think there is just something about that body being used with this character that just really fits. I'm not sure what it is, but the proportions and the way the figure looks just fits like a glove for this figure. And although it doesn't match exactly the way it does in the comics, because in the comics his costume is pretty smooth, with no added details. I think that the added scope work and insulated texture design that they have running on the arms and down the legs just adds a little bit of realism while keeping that same comic feel. Really love this figure in hand. He is very, very nice. I have to give it to him on that point. Let's take a closer look at the head. Now, I say head because you can alternately change the head sculpts by removing the plates and adding them. But with this standard faceplate, you get a really nice comic accurate look. Love the hair, love the way it's designed. They did give it a slight wash with some highlights to give it a lot of pop. And in all honesty, I have to say, this is one of the best looking heads in total with the different face plates. And the way it's designed, the faceplate really sticks in there and fits snugly onto the head, giving it a rather seamless look. And I have to be honest, if all the figures that they use the faceplates for have this same fit and look, I'm really happy to get more figures with different faceplates. Just fits so perfectly. It's really hard to explain, but it looks really, really good. They do capture that comic book look rather nicely. Take a look at the articulation. He looks down very well. Looks up as well. It is a little bit restricted. Now you can mod this to give it a little bit more look up, which I could do. But I think for now, what it has is fine. You got right to left. And of course, you could tilt his head for some attitude. Very, very nicely designed and executed by the guys at McFarlane Toys. Now, once again, we'll look at the suit. Another thing I thought was done very cleanly and very simply. The Geo-Force logo is just printed on rather simply, but it is tight and clean. You have the gold from the gauntlets and the belt that really gives it some contrast with that orange and red costume motif. Very, very nice. I just can't get over how well executed this figure is and how good it feels in hand. I've said it before, I love the 7-inch scale from McFarlane. Just something hefty while still keeping smoothness in the hand with the articulation. Really love that 7-inch scale from McFarlane. Now we'll go through the articulation very quickly because we have seen this body before. You still have that nice smooth movement at the waist. He has a very nice front crunch, which is highly appreciated with these figures. Lean forward very well. Nice smooth socket and shoulder bushing joint. It gives you a lot of range and motion while still keeping clean lines. Very nice. You do have two alternate hands, one open gesturing hand and one fist on the left hand, opening up your possibilities for display and figure photography. Going down to the lower body, you do have a slight thigh swivel there, so you can move the leg from side to side without having a thigh cut. Really love the design and execution of this figure. I can't say it enough. Looks really, really good. Taking a look at him, this is how you do reuse, where it is the same reused body we've seen, but the added details and colors really separate it from any of the previous releases. The trunks are another thing that look nice and tight, very form fitting, and with the added detail of the belt, really removes any of the negative points of having the rubber trunks. Going into the back, love that wide back. Very muscular, very detailed, beautifully sculpted. Going into that awesome head sculpt. Now, this guy is definitely very posable and photogenic. Loved reviewing him and adding my own details. That is why this review took a lot of extra days, besides from the holidays we had. I just really had a lot of fun adding my own details. Now, of course, after giving it all of that praise, let's go ahead and get into one of the big negatives. Once again, I have said this before, I will keep saying it. You should definitely have, especially with the collector's edition, two fists and two alternate hands. Don't know what is up with McFarlane. Of course, this body mold, beginning with Speeding Bullets Batman, you can have two fists. The mold is already there. So, really not happy about that. That is definitely what keeps this figure from being a 10 out of 10. Now, of course, I did a quick left fist so I could do what I want to with posing and figure photography, taking one of the blue Speeding Bullets Batman fists and trying to match the color as best I could. Now, it does work very well for displays and figure photography, but as you know, it is hard to match that color when it is coming from a molded plastic piece. But I did the best I could and added a little bit of spice with that alternate fist. So that being one of the big negatives about this is I really wish they would have added some alternate hands. Now moving on, the faceplates are very fun. Now the original one is very standard and can be used in multiple poses, and figure photography works really well for a sort of universal use of this character and this figure. But if you definitely want to add a little darker side to it, you want to add the whited out pupils. I mean, this just gives the figure a whole different vibe, like he's going into level 13. And one thing I want to say about this faceplate is the design and the way they are using the innovation of the faceplates. If you look at it, the mouth is hollowed out so you can see through it, but if you look at the figure without the faceplates, you can see where they added the tongue onto the face port. That way, when you put in this faceplate, the tongue is already there to finish off the design, which, that's something going up and above what you need to do. Really love that. That works out well with this. And you can see McFarlane starting to push the envelope of design and execution. So I really love the whited out eyes look that this character has. Really cool, giving you a big option change when you want to display him or do figure photography. Now, I did want to talk about the grinning faceplate, and this is something different because I've been thinking about this for a while. Now that McFarlane is starting to do alternate head sculpts, alternate faceplates, I really miss the side eyes. Now, I know this is a controversial topic because a lot of people were really mad and disgusted about McFarlane's use of the side eye. While I had a completely different opinion, I thought that it really gave figures like a certain look that you could only get with the side eye. One of my favorites, of course, being Superboy Prime, and of course, my Lex Luthor here in the Superman armor. Now, when you look at this, there's just something about the side eye look that really works with this character, with this figure. The downside, of course, being that you can only have him looking in certain positions and certain poses because of that side eye. It definitely limits the poses you could do, but at the same time, I just feel like it gives the figure a lot of life and personality. So I really miss that. And now that McFarlane is doing alternate heads and faceplates, I wanted to go ahead and add side eye to that gritty face. Now, this is very touchy and detailed work. It took me a while to do this, pinpoint by pinpoint of white paint and then adding the pupils, but in the end, I was really happy the way it came out. Now, this gives you the options and possibilities of using the side eye for certain shots, where it gives this figure a lot more character and personality. But you can always go back and exchange the faceplate and go back to your standard look. So I think people would be less negative about it now that you have the option of using that side eye or going back to your standard look. But I definitely love this. You could just see from the photos that I got out of it, it just adds something that you just can't get from your zombie looking straightforward eyes that just, give it no life and no feeling, just looking forward, like no soul inside of it. But these side eye really, really work and give it a lot more life. That's just some fun I had with it. That's not for everybody, of course, I know that. And now let's go into the effects. These effects are really nice, especially with my, modded fist. They slip right in there and just add that extra effect for display or for figure photography, which I can't say enough how fun this figure was. I'll give him that. After opening up a couple of figures that I just didn't have any fun with, didn't even review them. I just put them on the shelf because I just didn't have that urge to make a, review video about it. But this one definitely deserves it. So had a lot of fun doing this. Now, another thing you can do that I found out, you can bring out some of the other effects from other figures, and the ones that fit perfectly with this one, of course, was Firestorm. So I use this sort of energy crackling hand to do some side eye picks with this figure. And I really love the way the fisted energy burst, like for flying, looked. This really added a whole nother world of options and possibilities for display. So always keep your mind open of what you could use alternate parts for these figures. And of course, it is all up to your imagination just how fun these can be. And you can really grow to appreciate what McFarlane is trying to do. So, anyways, guys, really surprised me. Had a lot of fun with this one. I know he's kind of hard to find, but eventually people will start finding him more. Don't go crazy. Don't, spend double or triple on this one. Eventually, he will be everywhere, and you should be able to get him at a reasonable price. So you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Fat Man.